Welcome once again to the Radical Imagination Real Talk in the Hamptons, discussing all kinds of interesting topics with people who are making a difference out here. And this is part two of our wonderful, wonderful discussion with, I almost said rabbi, but no, Maestro Gregory Singer, who is going to be here. He's a conductor, he's a renowned violinist, composer, artist, who is going to be at the Southampton Cultural Center for Memorial Day, May 26th, at just, 10 days from now?
I think 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, and we're inviting everyone who is watching this show to see Gregory in person because it is a wonderful, unique, enriching experience. And if we play our cards right, we will get a little bit of a purview of what, and a preview even too, of what you might be doing at the show, and a little bit of the wonderful original music that you've been composing in recent years.
Thank you very much again, Jim.
Again, yeah. But again, first of all, you are residing in New York, but you've been around the country. You've had vast experience. You were with various rock groups, right?
Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Yeah.
Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Yeah.
You're business manager for Judy Collins.
Tours with my orchestra to China,
Tours,
Russia,
six tours of, you are the conductor of the Manhattan Symphony.
Right.
6 tours of China. And where else did you?
Well, I conducted in Russia and in Italy.
In Italy?
And in Carnegie Hall,
Carnegie
5
Hall?
times.
Wow.
And Lincoln Center.
And on the streets of New York.
It's funny, I think the reason why you almost said rabbi, because the word that you don't use that often might have been maestro. And so instead of saying maestro, which is a title, kind of like maestro, you thought of rabbi, which is funny. But no, I sometimes like the word maestro very much because my father was a conductor.
That's right.
And I remember one time writing the word Maestro Singer or stamping it on the back of his publicity, his photographs.
Right.
So I remember that the word maestro was sort of special to my father. And of course, when musicians address the conductor, sometimes they'll say, "Excuse me, maestro, where are we starting the next, the next rehearsal section?" So they'll call me maestro as they say, "Hey, Greg," or whatever. It's kind of nice. It's respectful.
No, it is nice.
You said rabbi for some reason, but that's not quite.
A rabbi is a learned. It's a learned teacher.
It's a respectful thing.
And
you don't say, "Hey, Moshe, come over here." You say, "Rabbi Moshe."
Rabbi Moshe, come here and
whatever.
Right, exactly. But and he also came from a European Jewish tradition.
That's correct.
And brought that experience to America, and in an eclectic way incorporated what he saw here, felt here, and experienced here, and also made sure that you understood it as you moved from Texas to Oregon.
Correct. It's very interesting. His family was completely broke. Again, typical immigrant story. Came to America with nothing in his pocket. However, he could play the violin. There was music, and so what's interesting is that he clung to music. Music clung to him, and so he had some very good teachers and good training. And he worked hard. And he joined the Philadelphia Orchestra. So
at a very young age,
17. Right? He was the youngest violinist under
Wow.
Stokowski, the conductor. And so, he comes from Europe to America. This is a really difficult time, a difficult immigration. But the music saved his life. So indirectly, music has also saved my life, because I don't know what I'd be doing if I didn't play the violin or have an orchestra or have music in my life. It certainly enriched my life. And I was born in Texas. And so after maybe 5 years of being in Texas, and my father conducted the Corpus Christi Symphony, we moved to Portland, Oregon. And from there, he developed the Portland Symphony into the Oregon Symphony. And I was lucky to have great, famous classical musicians coming to the dinner table quite often.
Now starting in Oregon, so in Texas, you moved. Otherwise,
I was little.
You could have been
I was barefoot.
You could have been a cattle rancher.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I could have been in jail by now. I mean, who knows? But music helped me really.
Instead of helping people get out of jail.
Well, we did that too.
That's another story.
That's right.
So that's wonderful. So this incredible, rich experience, it means a lot for you. I can tell.
It meant more to me than I realized. Though when I was younger, I didn't really care that much about it. I ran away a bit from it. But go ahead.
But to play this wonderful concert skit that you're gonna be involved in, a Memorial Day.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Well, that's kind of the career, you asked, how does one, in a sense, get lucky with patrons and careers and this and that? And I said, just like meeting you was a matter of fate that I happened to meet you in New York City, which is wonderful. We don't know. So I suddenly ended up, well, it's not over yet. I shouldn't say ended up, but I did, born in Texas, lived in Oregon, came to New York City for schooling, more schooling in music, and became a freelance musician. And
Went to Juilliard.
went to Juilliard. And all of a sudden, I'm still, now COVID came along and things shut down for a couple of years,
Right.
big time. And now this year, 2025, I'm really feeling my oats and I'm feeling really good about things. And meeting you again here on set, and this
Yeah,
is wonderful.
of course, and for our audience, because a lot of people out there who are having similar feelings as you are. I mean,
Good point.
what are we doing here now? What can I pick up, about transition in life and so on? And you've been true blue to your love, through thick and thin,
Amazing.
and you're very unique in a sense.
Well, that's
That you play
kind of you
so,
to say so, but maybe I'm not so unique. Now, maybe lots of people turn back to music or to music.
right,
I rode my bicycle around Manhattan a lot during COVID because I didn't ride the subways much and people were not doing much. And I knew that music might help me. So I drew some pictures, some artwork, and I composed some music and I played the violin. And I knew that this battle with COVID was going to be also a mental battle, as much as the physical battles at times that people have experienced. There was a real mental problem. And a lot of people have fallen apart mentally since COVID.
yeah.
But you're right. The idea suddenly of turning back to a very sort of organic music, acoustic music that is also, not even so electronic or through computers and things, but to do have the experience of going to a theater with people, not worrying about how many inches away people are from you, like you're 6 inches
Yeah.
away, 8 inches away, and wearing masks. You can go to the theater and you can sit next to people and laugh and make comments. And by the way, since I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing on this Memorial Day, I mean, there will be some questions and answers from the audience. I want to make it as interactive as possible because,
And
yeah.
yeah, you are bringing all of this wonderful, wonderful experience. I like the term organically to the Hamptons and playing a variety of music for a variety of people. And I think that is beautiful. So, what might you be playing, do you think?
Well, it's a very good question, and I thought of sort of a kind of a program formula. I actually want to come out on stage and either start immediately into a skit, like a theatrical skit, which I've got something developing in my mind now about the evolution of my musical talents as a composer also. So I'm going to show a little bit my early compositions on the violin and some of my compositions, how they developed. And then I think if I can arrange it with the accommodations and things and travel, have a few musicians join me, which will also show how a composer or an artist works alone. And then later, through the strength of other musicians and a little bit of a success or an audience, has more success. So by the end of my little skit, my little presentation, the audience may get an idea almost in real time, with even some questions and answers. We'll see kind of a little bit what my life travels have brought me to musically. So that's all I know so far. Between now and that date, I'm going to try to produce something that'll be fun for everybody.
That's incredible because I think it's really going to hit home for a lot of people out here who are making their way out here, spending more time out here, maybe in transition with careers or trying to develop a more artistic, if you will, creative life. And I think perhaps from whatever they did in the city or whatever, and I think you're going to speak to a lot of people who are going through some of the same things that you have.
Well, thanks to you, I will try. And in the future, if things go well, I would bring my orchestra. Now, the name of the orchestra that I've developed, we're on our 20th year, 20th season of performances, is called the Manhattan Symphony. And symphony is spelled with an I-E on the end of the word symphony. It's Symphonie. And the Manhattan Symphony will come out here perhaps next season and play a variety of great music, including some Beethoven symphony and some things that I've written, and some guest artists. Maybe people who reside in the community here in the Hamptons would like to play a solo with the orchestra. And the main criteria of who performs solo, especially with the orchestra, is that they have to be good, mighty good. And if they're good, We don't care what shape or form they come in, they're on stage with the Manhattan Symphony. So, and that's thanks to Jim Vretos and this wonderful Radical Imagination show. We'll build a little community of cultured people, of course. They will enjoy some classical music and a little bit of some light
And all kinds of
show
music. And there's tremendous talent out here. We can just go on and on, Nancy Atlas and so on, and many have shows and are playing at
The artists
OTB
too, right? The
here.
artists, many famous.
Artists as well.
Yeah.
So I think you'll find what you're doing really resonating and so on. So we have a viola, and we've gone through this in part one.
Right.
Viola cannot be a fiddle, but a violin could be a fiddle.
Right, I
So
mean, they've already
you want-
probably seen this, but again, real quick, just to show
Yeah.
that the viola is the larger one, the violin is the smaller one.
Right?
This violin is about 200 years old, from Europe. This viola might be older than that. This may be 250 years old, and this was made in Italy. And they've had some repairs over the years, but they're in pretty good shape, and they have a nice tone. And so the violin is higher up, and the viola is low. It starts at a lower tone. So, and I play and write mostly for the violin, but I've written some string quartets that involve the viola. And maybe during the concert, as I say, my little skit where I build a few musicians on stage with me, we'll have a violist coming out to play the viola on my string quartet that I wrote
Terrific.
recently.
But here we are
Yeah.
in beautiful East Hampton LTV studios. What is hitting you in terms of what you'd like to play spontaneously now on the violin?
Well, it's also a good
Putting you
question,
on the spot.
because, no, but some things are easier to play and to project, some things are more interesting. And it also, in a sense, answers a question that you're asking, what kind of mood are you in? What kind of mood do you feel like
Yeah.
portraying? What color? You mentioned colors. And so I have a lot of music going through my head, and there's some, well, I'll give you an example. So, but as I say, some things are easier just to play without thinking too much so, and I'll do that.
But you know, we
be
were
comfortable, yeah.
sitting out there in the car for
Yeah.
a few minutes,
Yeah.
and you were taking in the air.
Yes.
The healthy
I
air.
couldn't believe how still
the
and
qui- the
quiet,
still,
the air
the
was so
birds.
beautiful out here.
Does
Well, that gives me a certain feeling, you know.
go with it.
All right, well, in that case, should I put this one on? Let me just see. Well, I put this hat on because someone who's just changing channels may come across a dude playing the fiddle with a hat on, even though what I'm playing may be a little different, but it may attract him to watch and listen a bit, so, okay, something, a little melody would be.
You know what I felt there was sort of the fields, the beautiful fields,
The fields,
the
yes.
farms and so on.
I was thinking of that. I was picturing those
Oh.
fields as we drove in today. In those brown houses with all the brown shingles on many of the
Yeah,
houses,
yeah.
and then that very placid water I saw out there, like a big,
We didn't get to the ocean.
like, was that a lake? It was a big lake
That
though.
was, yeah.
Where you said where that
we
used to
were-
be, where the,
The Shinnecock Canal, we went
no, it's
past?
where the sisters used to live, and then.
Oh, yeah, Watermill.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
wow,
I mean,
wow.
very, very, very beautiful. So that kind of feeling made me play that. This is a little bit, also a little.
what's so great about music. You can just let it take you to wherever it takes you. And it may mean different things to other people, to all kinds of different people.
Right,
that's a good
point.
Just as we were coming through, we stopped briefly
Yeah.
at the East Hampton Farmers Market, which its first day is open today. And we said hi to my
Right,
good friend there, Jermaine Owens,
right.
who was opening up, and I thought of him as this local fisherman.
Right.
And all the wonderful local fishermen and farmers who are bringing to life the bounty of the earth and of the sea,
Right, right.
and how lucky and fortunate we are
It's
to
a-
have
it's a
that.
good point. It's very
And
true.
what about the ocean? The does that what
Well,
can
and
you
it's another
play
thing which is
La
interesting.
Mer
Well, yeah,
or
but it's also interesting because my orchestra would, in a sense, create the ocean perhaps better than me on the little violin here. But because so therefore you have the instrumentation, you have the flutes and the oboes, and you can create a little tremolo in, let's say, the bass or the timpani, and you can create the La Mer like sea or the
the
ocean.
sea?
But are you asking like what would come to mind or something or?
Yeah, what are you feeling if you close your eyes and imagine you're I don't know what out in the ocean or viewing the waves or
I would, I would think of sort of, things that would be like a. I mean, something maybe, something more notes and more flowing and in those kind of ways, But here's another example of a melody I wrote some time ago. Now that's a simple little melody, but you won't think of the ocean, you see, or.
that sounded very wistful.
This is called Central Park Waltz. I wrote this some years.
I love that.
You like that?
And what comes to mind, because I've heard it a number of times, lost love. Maybe totally something different than what you're thinking.
Well, yeah, it's true. But that's what you thought of. Yes,
I
that
don't
kind
know,
of
at this
because it's a
moment,
romantic feeling kind of thing.
it seems like it, at least to me at the time. But that's what the great thing is. People come, they bring, their own backgrounds, their own experiences, their own feelings, emotions, and they can come enjoy you and get all kinds of
Yeah, and in this case, it's
things
interesting
from it.
because it's a funny thing to say, but everyone in a way who shows up to that concert in a way is going to be contributing to it because I'm asking for questions and answers. Now they may ask anything about the instruments, about the music itself, about me, and I would just say be careful because I think I owe it to everyone to be honest. So, I say be careful because, it could be embarrassing. I say too spontaneous to answer, but I think I would be safest just to be the most honest about it. And I always found out that when you're very honest, that you ring a chord of truth inside people. I also have learned to sort of understand or believe that everyone knows the truth somehow in their soul. When you tell someone the truth or you react honestly about something, they can't deny the fact that there's a real humanity there, which is reacting spontaneously, honestly, and they have to respect that. And you're giving people respect when you answer honestly, even if you tell them, your hair looks terrible today, or you need to speak better English, or it's not, or you should really learn some discipline like another language or some musical language, because it's not going to help you in your life. And I'm telling you this because I believe it would help you. I'm not trying to put you down. Again, that raises the question of motives. Why do people say things? So if you ask me something on this concert coming up, Memorial Day, I will tell you my honest feelings. So hopefully it won't be too long, but sometimes an honest answer has to be an exhaustive answer, mentioning the good and the bad, if you know what I mean. So
No, that's very original. I mean, you're breaking
barriers,
and
exactly.
boundaries, and it's very unusual. Here's the great artist coming on stage and uh, maybe, you know, we applaud at the end and maybe he'll come up and,
Yeah,
or she,
quite distant, yeah.
yeah, distant and get some
Cold,
flowers
yeah.
and thank you and
Yeah, yeah.
goodbye
Yeah, yeah.
and do an encore and that's it. But this is very interactive
Right.
and.
I wish I could have brought my orchestra this Memorial Day, maybe next year,
Yeah,
but,
well, you bring whoever you can and,
Yeah, yeah.
and so on.
but I say
important.
that too also because, like you mentioned, it's not so rigid in the classical music world with my orchestra. I'm pretty close with my musicians. I'm pretty casual with them, and at times I'm a taskmaster per se. But it's kind of like I think they'd say I'm a good conductor. I think they'd
I
be happy
wanted to
about
get into that question. What makes for a good conductor?
Well, it's a very good question, and it's really is rather limitless kind of an answer. I mean, per se. First of all, he should be able to conduct well enough, or she, meaning that the stick technique the orchestra should be able to understand the directions of stopping and going and playing louder and softer and tempo by the hand gestures. A
Okay,
conductor.
just break that down now, so our audience who may not know. So there are these hand gestures that you say.
Yes, yes.
That are pretty basic
Yes.
and pretty necessary. And that can vary from conductor to conductor, or they don't know what they're
They
doing.
do vary, absolutely.
It's like,
There are books written on it, and there's a technique,
Really?
and you learn absolutely. And 4/4 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3 is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But again, there's many different tempos that have to be decided by a conductor. As an example, if we're doing a waltz, and one conductor is not so talented musically, they might do. And everyone's falling asleep. And somebody else might be too fast. Right? So it's kind of cheerful, but in a way, you're not getting the dance feel, and you're not getting, too slow is not good either. So that's one part of a conductor's responsibility.
it's also, isn't it, as you're describing it, an emptying out of your soul.
Well,
And-
you're very
and-
profound.
Well, it's just a term
Well, that's a good point. Now, I would say a good conductor, in a sense, is sharing as opposed to
Sharing
emptying out
the
per se, but I
soul.
mean, is
Yeah.
sharing the soul with the audience, because the conductor is taking, in my case, a life history, a life force of and my father and my mother, who was a great pianist, and my blessings, my family, being thankful for everything. So when I'm playing cheerful music, or when I'm playing extravagant music, or music you might want to hear something to do with the ocean, with the sea, it's I can really, truly, honestly, I'm up there to do that. And I also, in a sense, sometimes feel sorry for the audience because they're bored sometimes. And I've been bored as a kid in classical music concerts.
If you don't
So-
make it boring.
Well, when I go on stage, it's showtime. And again, it can't be in bad taste, I think. I can't play down to the audience, but I'm there to be real. And that's, therefore, if someone has a question or wants to do something, it's not necessarily a socialistic thing either. I mean, I'm the band leader.
But they give back to you
Yes,
too.
absolutely.
In a
Absolutely.
way that it becomes, well, sociologists call it, that we go into the world of the sacred in a sense.
Well, that's
We don't have to make it all.
No, we're aiming for that, yes.
Yeah.
We should be.
A spiritual connection that we don't have most of the time.
Look-
These are precious, precious moments.
It's very important to know because, somebody might be playing, an instrument on stage in the orchestra, you think like, did I turn the stove off at home? And that's not exactly the state of mind you should be in. Obviously not, for many reasons. The house might burn down at home, but I'm just saying that you should be into the music. So every musician should be into the music, especially the conductor. But the conductor can also inspire the orchestra and make them play better. Or if they think he's they don't like him or her, whatever it is,
Right.
then they might not play so well. They might even play slightly out of tune and not worry about it. I don't know. The quality of the concert might go downhill.
And the quality of the giving. I mean, again, I'm, as you know, a great admirer of Beethoven. And here he was facing his deafness. And as we all, again, getting older, we may have maladies and illness and sickness. But what did he do in response? He created this incredible work, the Appassionata. And it was his answer to his growing weakness in a sense, and discipline. And so music is this this battle and survival of life and giving of oneself and getting back.
No,
It's
it's a good.
very enriching, very enriching.
And magical. And
Magical,
again,
yes.
between the mentality of the musicians, their state of mind, the conductor picking hopefully a very good program for the audience also, not just totally modern sort of plink pluck music, which is intellectually interesting, but the audience can't really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And again, not playing like marching band music to an audience, in a sense playing down to them, because they're not going inside to hear a marching band per se. They shouldn't be. Marching bands you want to hear outside, ideally, I guess. But saying that a good conductor would tailor the right program for the right occasion and the right atmosphere. So later today, for instance, I'm going out to the cultural center
Yep.
to see the stage size, to see the ambiance, the feel of the room. And I might bring some artwork that I did also to show a little bit, maybe in the lobby or somewhere nearby. But anyway, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot.
It will be, and I'm looking at the time, we have about 40 seconds left before we do go out to the Southampton Cultural Center, where you will be playing May 26th at 2 p.m. And I'll be there, and I
That's so
hope a lot
wonderful.
of people that are watching this show will be there.
It's so
And
wonderful.
we'll
I
have a
can't
lot
thank
of-
you enough. You're terrific. You're a great humanitarian,
Oh,
and you're doing great work. I think the Hamptons are lucky to have you out here.
hey, we're lucky
joining
to
them.
have the Hamptons too, and all the wonderful people that are here. And this show, which tries very hard to celebrate the beauty, not only the physical beauty, but the human beauty that we have out here. So again,
Fantastic.
Gregory, thank you so very much. We'll look for you on the 26th. And thank you all for very much for listening to The Radical Imagination.